Well, it's about time we took a trip to Kent County Council, because this was, of course, one of the other big councils that Reform UK actually have control over. Not just like minority control. No, they have majority control of this county council. So they are fully in charge of what goes on here. And you might be wondering, why haven't we been covering what's been going on at this council? After all, it is the flagship place where Doge is, of course, meant to be starting. Well, that's because, as we have been covering, these reform councils and councillors doing nothing. They are doing absolutely nothing. They have got no policy. They have got no idea. They've no idea even how to do their goddamn job. And as for Doge, well, according to some of the stuff we've seen recently, they're still actually trying to set it up. They're trying to get currently the legal framework in it, which basically seems to me that they, if they do something with this Doge, they want to make sure that they don't get sued, shall we say, for doing something, which seems to be a couple of things that we've seen going on from what these reform councillors have been saying. If you've been noticing, we've been having a look at the interesting language they've been using recently. However, we are, of course, going to Kent because one of their county council leader recently has decided to get a quote, or at least tried to get a book banned from a children's library section. Now, of course, remember, this is Reform UK. And of course, not only is this absolutely, well, basically trying to target the trans community when it was a Pride Month, but also completely lying about the fact that this book was in a children's section. So this has the elements of all the best Reform UK stories. Not only do we get some really obvious transphobia and who they are targeting here, but it also comes up with the good old favorite of a good old classic Reform lie, and then being caught out in that lie. Again, typical Reform nonsense. So even down in Kent, yes, they are still up to the same exact things that every single other Reform council and councillor currently are doing. So before we do get on into this, please do remember to click on the Patreon page, the Buy Me a Coffee link where you can all buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the YouTube membership down below as well. So thank you very much to all those people who do help support the channel. And of course, you can just click the like and share button. And of course, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. We do, I promise, talk more about the reform, but it's just they keep on doing stuff. And as so long as they keep on doing stuff, I'm going to keep on talking about it. So, as always, let's crack on, of course, into this. So, this comes from Kent Online. The title of Reform UK County Councillor Leader Lyndon Carman backs now removing trans book from libraries, children's sections. So, the new, of course, Reform UK leadership at Kent County Council is now under fire, claiming now to have removed a transgender book from a children's library section. Councillor Paul Webb, the newly appointed cabinet member for communities and regulatory services at the council, announced on Twitter that he had acted now after concerns from a resident. And of course, here's his tweet and here's the section. And by the way, we'll be coming back to this section in a moment because this entire claim that this was in a children's section is an absolute lie. So, back to this then. He, of course, received now an unreserved backing from his boss, the council leader, Councillor Lyndon Carman, who also described this action as, quote, a victory on social media. But, of course, Anton Hook, the leader of the Liberal Democrat opposition at County Hall, said that making council policy on Twitter is preposterous, and it is absolutely preposterous, to be honest, because that is what they are trying to do. Make council policy on Twitter. That is an insane thing to do. I don't know. Maybe you should, I don't know, actually have a policy before, when running for council. In a short, of course, 30-second clip, Councillor Webb, who represents Stitchbourne of South, told his followers, I was recently contacted by a very concerned member of the public who found trans ideological material books in a children's section in one of our libraries. I looked into it, and of course, this was the case. I found now an issue and instruction for all of them to be removed from the children's section of any of our libraries. They do not belong in the children's section of our libraries. Saying our children do not need to be told they were born in the wrong bodies, and from today, this will now stop. It is, of course, understood that Councillor Webb does now not intend on banning the trans material, but now relocate it in the libraries. Councillor Kirkman indicated that this would happen now across all libraries in the county. But here's the thing. None of these books, as you'll see in a moment, were in the children's section. Anyway, she wrote on Twitter, another victory for now common sense in Kent. My brilliant cabinet member, Councillor Paul Webb, has now just got trans material removed from all children's sections of Kent libraries. Telling children their wrong body is wrong is simply unacceptable. And then here's where it starts to get interesting. The book at the heart of the matter is called An Autistic Trans Guide to Life and is described by its publishers as an essential survival guide that gives autistic, trans, and non-binary adults all the tools and strategies they need to live as their very best self. So here's the first question. Why is a book for adults in the children's section? That should be your first obvious red flag that this is a lie, that this is an absolute lie, because this could have been very easily been done as a setup. And what's to say this, quote, concerned individual who sent this complaint in didn't take that book from the LGBTQ section and put it in the kids section and then take a photo of it and said, oh, look at this, look at this book in the child section. Well, that's because that didn't happen. But what's to stop saying that could have happened? That's because this section was not a child section, right? First and foremost, like I say, we'll get into that later. But Councillor Hook also now said it very much does feel like an act of bullying towards a small, vulnerable group of people. Yeah, and it's very bizarre that leader of the council is now trying to make policy announcements on social media rather than to the council. This is essentially very odd, given that the committee, which usually deals with library service matters, met just only 2 days ago. Why not bring it up at the committee? Why do all this on social media? That's because they aren't doing anything, they are failing, and they know it. So they are trying to do anything they can, especially down in here in Kent, to make it look like they are doing stuff. And this was just basically a bit of red meat for their supporters to just gobble up. But anyway, Councillor Hook goes on. He said the administration could and should have given the committee a report of its intentions now to change policies now in our libraries. That would, of course, enable their plans now to be fully explained in a public meeting and be subject to questions and comments by other members of the council. Councillor Hook said that as a Liberal, he is now against banning books. He also went on to add that information and opinion should be made available and that people can then choose what to read and decide what to make of it. I've read many books that I disagree with, some books that have changed my mind and some that have not. This is how we learn. This is how our minds grow. We risk becoming a very narrow-minded society if we limit what individuals now can choose to read. I have written now to the professional head of the Kent Library Services to ask for clarification on what new instructions, if any, have actually been given to library staff. Green Party councillor Mark Hood also said, I'm pretty now fed up now with the constant game playing by Reform UK. All we have got is distraction, division, and Doge now on constant repetition. I find it quite sickening. The trans community is such an easy target. In a statement from the council, they said, Kent County Council has now confirmed that children are not and will not be exposed to adult transgender literature in our libraries. Staff now at the council's 99 libraries have all been asked to ensure that books are now always stocked in age-appropriate categories and that no adult literature makes its way into areas specifically aimed at children, or where children might be selecting books, such as the public welcome displays. Interesting, that, isn't it? Interesting. It follows, of course, feedback from a resident that it continues who spotted the transgender book aimed at adults in now a public display at the entrance now of one library in Kent. This book has now since been relocated to a section that is unlikely now to be visited by children. The Cabinet Member for Community Services and Regulatory Services, Paul Webb, said, "We rightly place child protection and safeguarding at the very top of the list of priorities, as should all adults, especially those who hold public office. The Kent Library Services has confirmed that we will ensure that only age-appropriate books are now being displayed now in children's sections of the libraries or areas where children will be selecting books now to borrow." And of course, this is now where the lie comes in, because this is where we go over to Reform UK exposed over on Twitter, calling them out for this. Councillor Paul Webb and the County Council, you have now openly lied as a councillor. This is a complete breach of the code of conduct. The books they said that were removed from children's sections were, of course, first of all, not in the children's sections. See the photo here. The left is, of course, their photo. The right is, of course, the welcome area in Herne Bay Library. We know it is because you can do a virtual tour of the library. No other libraries in Kent have this shelving. And of course, B, it was there for Pride Month as a display. So if it has been removed, it is because Pride Month ended 3 days ago. Please, can you actually ask whether you will apologize publicly and set the record straight? And of course, no, it hasn't. Again, are we surprised at this? Not at all. But this is just culture war BS nonsense. And they are doing it because they are floundering down in Kent. Doge hasn't even started yet. They're still trying to set it up, just regurgitating the same talking points over and over again. Oh, don't worry, guys, it's coming. It's coming. We're just trying to set up the legal stuff, the legal framework, according to Zia Youssef, because they don't want to be sued. And what are they doing policy-wise? Well, nothing, because they haven't got any policies to do. So, as always, just yet another clear example of Reform UK having absolutely zero clue of what they're doing, or if they're even, gonna bother to actually do anything. They're just there just to be loud, essentially. This is nothing. This is just a big, massive piece of red meat meant for their supporters. At the end of the day, what does this actually achieve? Oh, I don't know. Kent County Council Policies Library. That every single library in the country also just happens to follow. That, you don't really put that type of material, in with kids' books. Now, if it was a book like that aimed at kids, then it would probably be in the kids section. But as you can see from the publisher's own description of the book, it was aimed at adults. Not only that, but it was in a welcome section where it was Pride Month, where they were going, let's display some books for Pride Month, which I think any library should be allowed to do. Now, I think when you look at their photos of this, it is very clear from the other books in and around This is not a kids section. This is the welcome section. You can tell and you can confirm that by the fact it's the only one with this type of shelving in the county. Interesting, that, isn't it? Very interesting. So, yet again, Reform UK lying and then not correcting the record. Will he correct the record? I doubt it. But, probably something people down in Kent should probably realize, that if they're willing to lie about this small stuff, what else are they willing to lie about? So, as always, thank you very much for watching. As always, please do remember to click the like and share button. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.